I thoroughly enjoy each one. Maybe the ones that are less about me are not as fun.
Here that was coming. This is Champagne is Also a Band podcast. One songwriter, one song. I'm Sven, your host for a journey into the music of Champaign-Urbana. Recorded in the Blue Box studio with a songwriter from the Champaign-Urbana music scene, past or present.
Hello?
What's up, girl? What happened after Tony dumped you?
Girl, I'm over it. I went from heartbreak to hate.
Welcome to Champagne is Also a Band podcast. Today we're going to be talking with Joy and Baub about the release of the Miss Pettycakke album, Not That Bitch. Or should we call it an EP or... By the way, I will read some lyrics, and I have this magical ability of reading lyrics back and taking all of whatever's good out of the lyrics by the way that I do it. I'll just be like, so when you say, I choose anger, what did you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So, welcome both to the show.
Thank you.
And we also get to talk a little bit about your show From Heartbreak to Hate, which is also available just about everywhere, isn't it? I mean, you've got it on all streaming platforms.
Absolutely.
And, that's kind of a fun little journey, isn't it? Like when you're like, okay, how do I get this one to talk to this one, and then Podbean to tell this one to do? So I feel like I can commiserate a little bit on the podcast.
It's a lot harder than one would think it would be. I mean, it's not hard as it is complicated.
That's a good way to put it, right?
I was also thinking like how like most of them behave in a way where they communicate, like Podbean communicates out. Yeah. But I feel like iTunes, you have to get a pass or a code from iTunes to make it so it's like once again Apple being a little
elitist. Yeah,
a little pushy.
Like you want it on our service, you got to work for it.
That's right. We don't.
I'm glad that
we want you to put your content. We want you to want to put your content on iTunes. And I do. Well, so the album was just released. I think that was the May 20. Am I right? No. Or am I screwing up?
No, it was out on May 14th.
May 14th. Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
I had to think about that too.
I know. I was like blanked. I was like, no. Yes. No, May 14th.
Yes. All right. So
not long.
So you may also know Baub from, well, you're going to start a band, or you have started a band, or you plan to start a band, or you conceptualize a band called Creep Patrol.
Creep Patrol. Yeah. Yes. So it's officially started.
It is officially started
because I've made the music
I've been listening
for
to
it,
somebody.
And but it was originally a duo, but part of the duo is busy.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
It might be. I might just be Creep Patrol by myself. I don't know. I'm trying that out.
That could work.
You're succeeding.
I'm trying it out.
All right. And then, so when, I guess without further ado, why don't we just launch into listening to the song, and then we'll talk about it.
All right.
Sounds good.
You said you will find that choose anger, I choose anger, I choose anger. Oh, sadness. I choose anger because anger keeps me pretty warm, and people accept anger as their daily norm. When you're sad, other people, they cannot stand your gloom. They'd rather you shout and cuss than feel impending doom. I know you are thinking now, I'm crumbling deep inside. So tell me now, Miss Betty, just why should I hide? As a woman, I am always very strong, and as a strong woman, no one wants to see what's wrong. I choose anger, I choose anger, I choose anger. Oh, sadness. You know that other people, they really cannot deal with someone that's like me, someone just trying to heal. Sadness is one thing that people will never hear. If they hear your sadness, they start to truly fear that they may look inside and they might really feel their own deep sadness, and they can't handle real. I choose anger, I choose anger, I choose anger. Oh, sadness. I choose anger, I choose anger, I choose anger.
All right, so how did this whole project get started with the Miss Pettycakke?
Miss Pettycakke's a funny story because I just so you've listened to the whole thing, right? So
Yeah.
you know they ain't shit.
Yes.
That song. It just so happened that whenever Baub and I would get together, I was just like, I kind of had like the very bare bones of the chorus of that. And that was kind of it. And then I kept jokingly saying, I'm going to have to record a song. You know what I mean? But I wasn't really being serious. One day I show up, we're going to do the podcast, and he's like, I feel we need to record that song today. So on the spot, he came up with beats for it. I was writing lyrics as it went. And it was just like so organic and fun because, you know what I mean? It just flowed. It was so
like 3
easy. It
hours
was
of
like,
straight
yeah.
just...
And we
She would
laughed.
listen to the music, go back in my living room, write stuff. I would tweak the beats. It was just like back and
Back and
forth.
forth,
My
back and
dog
forth.
was really annoyed, but
Because I was doing like one verse at a time. Like
Yeah.
I would write a verse and be like, that's great. Okay, record it. And then I would go in the other room and write another one. And he would be working. And it was like, so we had, I think because we had so much fun
Yeah.
doing that song,
Yeah.
I laughed the most I've had in years probably. I was like, I went home and next thing you know, I was writing like the next one. I wrote Pettycakke. I was like, oh, what if I did something with the children's rhyme? Because we had a lot of things about Petty, like I'm Petty LaBelle, I'm Tom Petty. You know what I mean? Like everything that has like, you know,
Petty
actually
Bundy.
Petty or Petty Bundy, Petty in Pink,
Yes.
which is going to be an upcoming single.
Oh, but I did see that as the image of that.
Yeah,
where you-
exactly.
yeah.
So, you know, I was playing around with that and came up with the name Miss Pettycakke. And then next thing you know, it was like once the name was born, it was like all of the rest of it flowed.
Yeah, she lives. She lives.
Excellent. So, it's a matter of this collaboration between you two So who would you feel, or has it been that, because it's been so fun and organic in some ways, that like who is influencing what the sound is like? Because I like specifically with this song, you've got one of the things that that sticks out in my mind is that like low piano, like subtle, maybe not subtle aggression, but it's just like kind of like stabbing, kind of like.
Yeah.
You know.
That actually came from Baub. So what happened on a lot of the songs, really, I would say, like, oh, I want this one to be like this. I think I want it to be a little bit faster.
Because we were
going
going to make trap music. We were just going to
that's
make
what
trap.
That's what we're originally going to do. And then it evolved from that, right?
Yeah.
And with Anger Over Sadness, as I was writing the lyrics, I was kind of saying, oh, I think I want it to kind of, like, because the whole idea is that, it's supposed to be more about sadness, but I'm saying it's anger. And we had one beat.
It started completely different. Yeah, it started more like the other songs where it was more definitely hip hop, more fast paced. The beats were faster. And then I think you just did the chorus.
Yeah.
And then we just it was kind of like just do the chorus, then rethink this, which we did with a couple songs.
We did with a couple songs.
Like we had a definite idea. We tried it out. It didn't work. I would make her mad sometimes.
He started thinking that was like him
working.
developing my superpower.
It was definitely working.
He's like, you record better when you're angry.
Started throwing her hands more, like getting into it. But yeah.
But with that one, I think I'm going to attribute a lot of it to the fact that we've had a genuine friendship for so many years. And so we know each other very well. And so it's like, the more when I would like read lyrics to him or get into it, it's like, Baub can really tell what I'm like trying to convey, even though I don't speak that well in musical terms. You know what I mean? I wouldn't know how to build the beats or anything like that. And so it was like, I think he could really just hear like what I was trying to say. And he was like, let's try this. And we just started from scratch. And
like I said, we've known each other for 19 years almost. And so we know each other musically what we like.
Yeah.
And we both love hip hop music, but we also have a lot of alternative female artists that a lot of people don't listen to, and that kind of built on our friendship, where we both liked Esthero, which a lot of people don't know Esthero.
Don't know,
and so like she's Canadian hip hop, R&B, trip hop in the 90s. She had these great albums, but we both really love Esthero, and I was like, this is what I want for you. I want Esthero for you. And so when we started doing the Anger Over Sadness, it definitely had more of Esthero's first album,
right?
Kind of a sound to it. So I think that influence was in there. And since we both love that album and her so much, that was definitely an easy progression, I believe.
Yeah. And we also listen to a lot of the same, like, black female British rappers that also a lot of people don't know here in the States. And so, when I would say, well, I want it to be kind of like so-and-so, like, he knows exactly what I'm saying. So we don't have to do the research.
We don't say, we don't like, it's not like going to be like Cardi B. I mean, nothing against Cardi B if you're listening, but we don't listen to like that kind of music.
No.
Right.
So we listen, I mean, not that we're like trying to be snobs on music, but we do listen to a lot of black female British rappers. For whatever reason, we both separately listen to these women, and so that's kind of our gig.
You both started listening to this before you met each other, or kind of after you kind of influenced each other in terms of listening on that?
Both senses, because like we both love British music a lot, and so like we didn't know each other. When we first met, I remember talking about Fiona Apple with her, talking about Esthero with her, and these were like connections I had not really made with a lot of people. Okay. So I think that helped build our friendship. So
I mean, the album sounds cohesive. It doesn't sound like there's a disagreement at all. It sounds like it's very focused and like, well, I mean, anger and stuff and pettiness. So
just a little bit of pettiness. I think you used the word once or twice in that, right?
Just a bit. Just a few.
Yeah.
So is there a story behind this song in particular? Like what inspired it to come forward? Or was this one that you wrote the words first, or at least started the words, and then
I had started
Baub
the words
in?
first. Then, like I said, we had started with an original beat that he'd given me to go and play with, but I kind of had the bare bones of it put together, and I wrote some of the verses after he gave me the original beat, which in this particular case, that didn't influence the lyrics. It was just I was trying to get it to the beat of what he had given me. You know what I mean? And so we had to adjust that after the fact. The story behind Anger Over Sadness is I've always kind of jokingly said that anger is my home. You know what I mean? And it was always, I kind of grew up in this household where it was like, you don't cry. You know what I mean? You're tough, you can take it type of mentality. So anger just became like a natural thing. It's like, instead of sadness, I'll just be angry. And, the older I got, people were like, how come you can't just be sad? Or, you know what I mean? Like, why does everything have to escalate? And it's like, well, this is the way I deal with things. And so I just wanted to kind of write a song that kind of addressed that. And that's really, where it came from.
Is there a particular set of lyrics that are your favorite, or?
I think like where I'm talking about as a strong woman, and no one wants to see the wrong. Like, I think that's the thing. It's like when you really are vulnerable and you share, or in my own past, I'll say, whenever I've tried to share, what's really hurting me or something, it's like people don't have time for that. You know what I mean? And so I think that's another thing about anger is anger's more proactive. Anger, when you take more action, if you're just sad, you're just kind of, blah, and you're kind of like sitting there. And it's like anger feels like it gives you some sense of power.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, you talked about how that, when people ask how you're doing, like with deaths in the family and stuff like that, it's kind of a not really that they care. It's like one of those things that you have to, as another human being, but sometimes people want you to react with like, show your sadness, like they're like empathy or sympathy vampires, and they kind of just want to ask you that, and they want to see someone sad. So I think that when you talked about that too a little bit, just in the song.
Do you have a favorite set of lyrics for this song, or a particular spot?
No, I do like that aspect of the strong woman. That is probably the best. I think some of the best lines on the EP itself. I mean, personally, this is the song I like the most. I think as far as someone listening to it, it's a relatable song. Whereas these are things that most women go through. Not, speaking as a woman, but like, it's not speaking for women, but women have set things that we as men expect them to react. And we expect them to be sad about things and not get angry. It's not really a woman's place to get angry. It's kind of how people think. And so that's why I like the song so much, because I like angry women.
We know that.
I wasn't thinking along those lines, but yeah, it's like we expect an emotional reaction from a woman to be, and I'm speaking as kind of as a general societal thing.
Absolutely not you.
Right.
But we expect, like, if there's going to be an emotional reaction, it's going to be sadness or tears or whatever, rather than anger, because we associate that as being more of a male trait or whatever. And
because sadness or just things that are more docile is what we as a society relate to women, and anger is more aggressive. And so that's where it comes. It's like, oh, it's not really a woman's place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and as a gay man, it's the same thing, because those ideas for a woman is placed on gay men as well. So whenever you get into a fight or you have to take up for yourself, you're supposed to cry and you're supposed to be weak, because that's what they want from you. So if you're angry and not sad, then it's unexpected and it catches them off guard. So
yeah. And an interesting thing about that line, when I wrote it, I actually wrote, as a strong black woman, no one wants to see what's wrong. And I rewrote it because, I wrote it that way because, well, that's what I am. But I rewrote it because I thought, this really is something that all women go through. All women have this issue when they're trying to express themselves however they see fit. You know what I mean? Because it's really not just about anger. It's about any way you want to be able to express yourself, you should be free to do.
So, Joy, do you have like a favorite part in the song that Baub wrote, he put together for this piece?
Really just the music. I mean, the way he captured like that chill, it's like there's kind of like, I don't even know, I'm not good at recreating musical sounds, but it's like dun, 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 like the way the musical beats, I don't know how to describe that, but I just love, like, I felt like you captured the essence of what the song was trying to get with the music. Like, it was just the right beat. And for that one, I don't even think you really gave me a choice. It was just like, hold on, I'm going to do a thing.
Yeah, like,
just hold, please.
Do this over
He's
again.
like, I'm going to put you on pause.
Yeah,
and then
paused her a little bit. She listened to the wrong beats in her head as she's working on the lyrics, and then I just switched stuff up. And it's funny because like listen to that song now, and we've heard songs since then that I'm like, oh, I didn't realize it's gonna sound like this song. And like some people have said, it kind of sounds like a Drake song, which I'm not like.
Yeah, don't really.
I mean, I've heard one song of his. Sorry, to all the fans out there. But like, and then someone said it sounds like an Alicia Keys song, and I was like, well, that makes sense. I like Alicia Keys, but it's like that wasn't the thought of it, So it was like I think just the piano aspect of it kind of sounds like something Alicia Keys would do, or like.
Gotcha.
The downbeats would be something that Drake would do, or I don't know. We were going to put stuff in the background. We tried a lot of different things, but like, I'm all about the atmosphere and like things you necessarily can't hear. Like just like, I don't know, some synth pads, some like,
Right.
wobble sounds in the background and stuff like that. I like the way that things come together like that.
I don't know if you got the chorus line that you sing from what Baub had written, but I do like how the I choose anger, that line, it goes, but then you kind of like melodically repeat it afterwards. So it's this kind of this back and forth of the music and you.
Yeah. No, we modified that actually.
Oh, okay.
That was something that came out of what Baub did. So I had more words to the chorus and things like that, and it was like I was just singing that main line, and we were having issues recording it. I think
because you were doing it straight through. You were like, I choose anger over sadness. And so then we just did I said, well, let's just do the I choose anger.
Yeah.
And so we just stopped it there. And then, because it was going to be just I choose anger over sadness. It was a lot faster paced song. And so that drove just doing that chorus.
Yeah, it really did.
Drove what the song sounded like. So that was
because once we like built the pieces.
Yes.
Like he was like, just do this piece,
and then it's
and
like,
then do that, and it really did.
The track, and then add echo to this part of it, and then so that just like it just kind of made the music itself too. I felt a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to picture that it would feel very rushed or compressed if you were to do the chorus that way.
Yeah,
getting to the whole point way too soon, right? Like the whole over sadness. If you were going to say over sadness the 3 times or even just twice, you would get to the point way too soon and be like, okay,
because there was more to it.
There was more.
The chorus wasn't I choose anger or sadness.
It had another line.
There was lines to it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it was like that completely got obliterated, and then just made down to that, and that's what made it. So,
but this made it raw, and it just
Absolutely.
we were like, when we got the chills, we were like, okay, all right, this is it.
Yeah, because we were gonna do like like it was gonna be like a total like trap, drop the bass.
I cannot picture that.
That's what we were gonna go do.
I mean,
and then we got laughed at by a 20-year-old, a 22-year-old. She was like, "You guys made trap music?" And we're like, R.E.M., who we had on our podcast, we had her listen to it on our way to the studio. So she was like, she got into it. She was like, "You guys made trap music?" And we're just like, "Oh yeah, maybe we should stick to things that we know better."
Yeah.
You had written it basically at your house and then took it to a recording studio to record, or you actually recorded it in the house?
We have
well?
what we do our podcast on is a room in my place that we call, it's not a lake studio, or it's a lake studio. Shit, I keep messing that up. We have this giant sculpture on the wall, and people always ask what it is, and I always say it's a lake. That's why I call it. It's a lake studio.
It's a lake studio.
So we do the podcast. So we just did it off that.
Nice.
What we had, DIY, man, DIY.
No, that's great. I mean, it sounds good. I mean,
Well, I can tell you one of my secrets right here. I drink this every single time that we record.
It's true, though.
I drink root beer every single time.
And then we read things about it, and there's something in
root beer
that actually like calms your vocal cords.
What?
Yeah,
Is it your story?
It's so we like look up all the ingredients in it, because she kept saying when we would record the podcast, she kept saying, "I feel better when I drink, or I sound better when I drink the A&W." So we like looked up all the things, and there was one in there that like it chills out your vocal cords and stuff like that. So.
That's good to know.
All you singers out there.
That's right.
Get you some root beer.
Maybe some ginseng.
Right.
For the nerves.
That's probably a little
I don't
better.
know.
Yeah.
That's probably better.
Weed, whatever.
I guess this goes back to all like the verse 2 again, which is also the before the part that's as a woman I'm always very strong that we were talking about earlier. See how I just like pulled all the energy out of those lyrics
Oh, yeah.
by just me talk. I don't know. Anyway, but that they'd rather you shout and cuss than feel your impending doom. I know you may be thinking now, I'm crumbling deep inside. Did you actually have a specific event that precipitated this, or was it you just...
Yeah, no. So my dad died last year, and he was sick for about 6 months beforehand. Then it was just kind of like a sea of other horrible things, you know what I mean? So I lost both of my parents, and just kind of like dealing with that, and like being somebody who's been a caretaker and who's also lost parents, and people's reactions to that is really kind of the impetus for the whole thing, because it's just like people don't know what to do, and I get that, but I would rather somebody say I have absolutely no idea what to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or as opposed to either just trying to like shove it under the rug, hope you never speak about it again, or you know what I mean, somehow make it about them. A lot of the times when somebody when a person dies in your family, you end up having to make the other person feel better about them trying to console you,
Right.
which makes me insane. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
And someone had brought that up to you. Mm-hmm. Like, kind of like how you're doing with it, but not like...
how are you doing? Because when I think about it, I just can't even imagine. You know what I mean? Like, it makes me crazy. And they had both of their parents are still alive. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but those of us who've actually gone through it, which I'm one of them, you know what I mean?
Right.
Would rather you just don't even
bring it up.
Don't go there. Like, because
Yeah.
this is my reality. So you and your hypotheticals don't matter. You know what I
True.
mean? Fair
Yeah,
or not
yeah,
fair, but
yeah.
that's that's just
They're not
facts. And
valid.
people don't like when you're that straightforward with them.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like, am I here to help you figure out exactly how you understand the
Right.
hypothetical? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and
Then
there's-
I put in more energy to explain to you how this feels, right?
Yeah.
So,
So it was really just kind of like that. It just like been a full year of that, and I had a bad breakup, and it's just like everybody else, like in my own feelings of like everybody else wants to get to have their say when it comes time for me to have my say. You know what I mean? Nobody
Right.
really wants to hear, but like there is this aspect of like if you're just shouting, cussing at them, people feel like it's easier to write you off as opposed to if you're just being honest and you're very much like, I'm explaining to you in this tone of voice why this is a problem.
right.
That's too real. It's too up in your face. People don't like that. It's easier to write you off if I'm like the stereotypical shouting black woman. Then
Right.
they're like, oh, she's just
Just stay away from this topic because it'll make her the angry black woman.
exactly. There's that truth too.
yeah.
A lot
yeah.
of the problem is it's people who really don't need to. Like it's
That's the thing.
coworkers or things
Yeah,
like that.
it's
Oh.
like people who don't need to
Yeah.
say.
Like your friends are there for that. Your family's there for that. Like sometimes it's Sometimes
it's like if you
people
don't have
just ask
anything
for no
genuine.
reason.
Here's how I feel. If you don't have anything genuine to say, you know what I mean. Then just don't say it. Period. We can
Right.
just do the thing where you pretend that it never happened. Like, I'm here to do a job, so that's fine. don't break it up if you're just going to be fake about it, or if you're going to need me to console you that you had to think about it for 2 whole minutes. I think about it all the time. So
How long did it take to record the entire EP? How long were you working on it?
So it started in February.
Yep.
Like February 15th or something.
something like that.
Oh wait, no, it wasn't that weekend because that was the weekend Creep Patrol started.
This is
It was
ridiculous.
The weekend after, so it would have been like the 22nd. It would have been like the 22nd of February was when we wrote the first They Ain't Shit,
Yeah.
because then Aryam was on the podcast on the 26th.
His mind is ridiculous.
So we wrote that song in 3 days, and then over the next 2 months, not like on a major we have to write this schedule. I think the 14th of April was when I was like, you have to have it released on the 14th of 5th of May because that's 2 weeks before Memorial Day weekend, and that's when the summer really starts. And if you want your song to be a summer hit, it's got to be released 2 weeks before the summer
Yeah.
season begins. So that was like, So we had no plans.
not by then.
Not by then. So like 2 months of just recording whenever we knew it was going to be an EP because that's all she was going to do.
I mean,
I don't
think
even want
it's
to get
long
into the
enough you could
fights that
call-
we've had
oh.
about EPs or song
We'd
length.
fight so much.
Oh,
So
We had
much.
so many fights about song length. I can't even go into it. I'm going to go into it. No, I'm just kidding.
okay.
whatever.
I even want to ask, like, who wanted it longer and who wanted it shorter?
I needed 3.5 minutes on a song, or I feel effort hasn't been put into it.
Oh,
And I feel
I gotcha.
that some songs that are 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes, because that was actually what you really told me, is you needed a 4.5 minute song.
That's because you were writing 2.5 minute songs, and I needed the 4.5 minutes to balance
But the
that out.
problem was, I was like, a lot of songs that are that long are filler. They play the chorus 700 times, or they've got all this intro music that doesn't add anything to it. I just want to get in and get out.
That's what I'm here for. Intro music and worthlessness in the middle. So,
I mean, it's not shoegaze or anything. Come on.
no, I
You
know.
can't have that.
I mean, that's more for my Creep Patrol project. But yeah.
I can't believe that you put that much thought into the release date for it to be a summer.
I have as an artist, I have this mind that works more business-like, which is detrimental in a lot of ways. But a lot of people who are artists don't have, like, they're flowy. They go with how things work, and and in my head, it's like, this is the opportunistic time to do things.
You're very, like, technical about it. You're very, like, this point.
I used to have that whole, like, if I
Yeah.
don't get famous between the ages of 28 and 32, then I'm not going to be anything my entire life. And I'll be dead at 50.
Wow.
Like, those kinds of things.
We've gotten depressing.
I understand that. Being 43 now, I'm like, oh, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
that's the way it is, right? It's like, oh, 32 was 12 years ago.
Oh, sorry, I was just reminiscing there on my
Yeah.
about my 30s.
It was so fun because it was so honest. Like, at the end of the day, like, they're fun songs. A lot of them are upbeat, very peppy, but it's so honest and it's so true to who we both are. The skits that we put in there are like horror movie, you know what I mean, influenced, and that's definitely another thing that we, share in common is a love of horror movies. And all the topics were like things that were in my heart, and like getting it out was so therapeutic. I'm like, I recommend anybody who's going through something, just start recording music because it's cheaper than therapy.
Champagne is also a band podcast is proud to support Jubilee Cafe. Jubilee Cafe is a free weekly meal program at Community United Church of Christ, 805 South 6th Street in Champaign, Illinois. Jubilee Cafe serves a home-cooked meal from 5 to 6:30 each Monday. Their mission is to feed hungry people by cooking healthy, delicious meals and by serving their guests restaurant-style with servers waiting on tables. Jubilee Cafe is open to anyone who cares to eat with them. Because food insecurity among students is so high, they serve students as well as others in and around the Champaign-Urbana community who struggle with hunger. Meals are free to all and will be served each Monday evening. Located in the accessible lower level of the building at 6th and Daniel Streets in Champaign. For more information on the meal or how to volunteer, go to the Jubilee Cafe CUCC Facebook page or email them at jubilee.cafe@community-ucc.org. That's jubilee.cafe@community-ucc.org. Normally we talk about the Champaign-Urbana music scene, but I feel like maybe discussing your podcast and how that came about from Heartbreak to Hate.
Yes.
So if I understand correctly, this was originally a radio show.
Correct.
How did it evolve from a radio show into a podcast?
Okay, so I started the radio show in 2016. It was all female, alternative punk, anything in an alternative genre, punk, grunge, new wave, goth music. So I played only female vocal songs. The title of the show From Heartbreak to Hate is an Angelfish song, which Angelfish was the band that Shirley Manson was in before she joined Garbage. And after Goodbye, Mr. McKenzie, which anything Scottish, Irish, English music from the 80s and 90s was my jam back then. So I had the show. Joy was in Detroit when the show started. She's actually there the first night it started, but then she was in Detroit for a year and a half. Whenever she came back to take care of her father, she came and joined me on the show.
Oh, okay.
And so,
Which, by the way, did you mention was impromptu?
well, it's very impromptu.
Yeah, we were just hanging out. I was
Yeah.
like, we have to resume our little hangout nights.
Yeah, because we hung out every Wednesday night before she moved away. Every Wednesday night we just hang out. We went to dinner at Ferren's or whatever. I don't know if I'm allowed to say things like that.
So how long have you known each other? Is it sorry if you said it earlier,
Oh.
but
19 years altogether.
Yeah.
There were times when we were both. She was in Chicago. I was here. I was in Chicago. She was someplace else.
Yeah.
She's a mover, so she's lived in different cities.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been hanging out like full time about 9 years now.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah,
at least
I moved
9.
back in 2010, and I think that's when we reconnected
wow.
Yeah.
at a bar.
At a bar, of all things, you just...
Yeah.
It's true.
So yeah, so she moved back. Was staying here, and so it wasn't. She didn't know if it was going to be permanent or what
Right.
the situation was going to be. So we just started hanging out again on Wednesdays, and she was like, "Come back on the radio show." You know, we had one of our friends in common was the show's #1 fan. So she was listening, and we just started talking in between the music breaks, which I would read what was just played, what was coming up, tidbits and trivia stuff, and then when she joined, we just started bantering back and forth about things.
Yeah.
It turned into what the podcast is, essentially. We would talk. Most of my shows were themed, so we had a topic a lot of times to talk about. Sex, The Cure.
Right.
Like we de-virginized you into The Cure
Into
on
The
the
Cure,
radio.
yes, that's right.
There's lots because that was
Never listened
our
to
friend
The Cure.
Sang's favorite band, and so for Sang, I had to all cover female covers of The Cure show, and so it was a 2-hour show. So we had lots of fun, had lots of time to talk.
Yeah.
But we ended up the talking parts were essentially the length of the podcast it is now, and there was lots of turmoil and stuff at the radio station, which I was not into, and so I reluctantly decided to pull the plug on the radio show, and then we were going to do the radio show on Mixcloud and do a podcast too, but it just became too much editing for me
Right.
in spare time that I don't have time for. So it kind of just dissolved into the podcast from Heartbreak To Hate.
Nice.
It's a long,
And-
drawn out story.
No, it's a
well,
good
no, it's good to hear where the roots are, and so I just saw that you released episode 51,
Yeah.
Fear. I haven't listened to it yet. I think it just came out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been out for a week. What are you thinking?
Yeah. It started out with this idea of you're talking back and forth. Is there a favorite episode that you've done so far that you really like, or
Ooh.
51. I mean, I would say start with episode 15. That's when it started sounding a little better. I don't know. Like, I thoroughly enjoy each one. Maybe the ones that are less about me are not as fun.
Here
that
we
was
go.
coming.
Yeah, right. You're like, I've listened enough to know.
Yeah, as an avid listener, you know that I like talking about myself. But like, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say the one about me is my favorite.
I was waiting for you to say
I
that,
knew
though.
that, but I like the one where we did the extra podcast of Joy's text messages from her ex.
oh
The
yes,
The exorcism.
The exorcism.
Exorcism. I thought that
Yes.
was a really good one. I mean,
it
I
couldn't have been texturcism. Oh,
Where were
sorry.
you?
that is
I'm
so
sorry.
rude. That is so rude. Don't take my puns and pun my pun, please. I dare you to get Brandon Lee out of the word random. But
I mean, I only get like one of those a year, so
yeah,
have at it.
Thanks.
That's it. I'm not that clever.
Well, that I think was a fun episode, and I think that when Ariam was on the podcast, we'd like to have more people.
Yeah,
we'd like to have you come on, and
Okay.
we like to have other people. We tried to get friends to do it. Some people are scared of Joy.
No, they're not scared of me. Thank you very much.
The words that she might say.
Oh my goodness.
Her eye rolls, her sighs.
My eye rolls are epic.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we can see that every episode.
yeah, well we
Good.
we did try to videotape or not videotape, that makes me sound really old.
It does.
We tried to record
Very good.
Visually.
with visuals, yes. in the radio studio. It didn't really work out. We were very both self-conscious about
we were like
the
false.
angles
None of that.
Yeah.
of the cameras, and like we didn't look great, and yeah, I mean I'd like to do it like that, but
It's hard to pick a favorite episode because I feel like we're constantly finding ways to get better. We're doing, like you said, I didn't know which episode we started sounding better, by the way. Of course, that's definitely a Bob thing. He can't listen to the first ones. It's hard for him. But
even though people still listen to the first ones,
yes,
Yeah.
I mean I guess you have to start with the first one, right?
you do.
So
You should
just
start at the
re-record it.
beginning.
Well, it is a saga, so
Oh, it's
it
true.
just continues. No.
It is. But no, I mean, any of the ones where we're just like dropping real truths, and like I've gotten feedback where somebody's like, I cannot believe you said that. I'm like, I'm 40
Yeah.
years old. I do not have a thing to fear anymore. Like, I'm just going to tell the truth.
I think, yeah, honestly, the ones where not to be selfish, but the ones where Joy actually becomes more like me.
How about when that episode where she tried to be you? Isn't that the,
That is,
I know.
yeah,
that was
so hard.
That was
well, you abandoned ship on that one.
yes,
like 5 minutes
we
in.
could not even do it. Like the thing of this is just like looking at each other. I mean, if we didn't have to look at each other,
Maybe.
I think maybe we could have done it a
Yeah.
little better. But
We're
we
like
literally
looking at each
we
other's
looked stare
eyes.
face at
Like,
each other, and
I can't.
it's like, do we cross the line where you're actually like lampooning your friend and like
Yeah.
making fun of them, or are you trying to be consciously? I'm a giver and I care about others, so I was trying not to hurt her feeling because she only has one. So, but no, anytime she's ever been like full on anger, I enjoy it.
Oh yeah, he gets so excited.
I
He
just
can't
like
even-
I could sit there
Yep.
with like popcorn.
He's done it on
and watch
purpose
her
too.
and
He'll
get
be
her,
like,
fired up.
we'll
on
come back.
something.
Sometimes we know in advance what we're going to talk about, but
Please
there's been times
go
where
ahead.
he's just been like,
Sorry.
I'm going to ask you a question, and he'll say something that he knows gets me all fired up. I'm like, and he's just sitting there smiling and like
Because I
tapping his
remember
fingers
everything,
together.
so I remember whenever she's gone on rants about
Yeah.
shopping carts or random things. So like that's a good time to drop the question.
He's like, how do you feel about people who question your blackness? And I'm like,
The rawest topic I could possibly pick.
yes.
I wish you could just literally have and I'm hoping to say literally the correct way, but have a bowl of popcorn that you could just reach
Oh,
in
yeah.
and grab it and be like,
It's usually gummy bears or something like that. Yeah, but yeah, no, it's good. Those times when she's she's definitely more articulate with her angry vibe than I am. Like usually. Well, I mean, I just get more stuttery as things because I have that problem where I'm speaking now, but I've already thought 5 words before the word I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly, my brain's the same way with anything I do. Like when I write, I'm writing the next word in the word that I'm currently writing. I don't know if that's an actual problem, but I'm one of those people. If you have that problem, we can start a club.
so you intend to keep going with the podcast, and how often are you turning out shows?
We do about once a week. Sometimes if we're traveling or not together, we'll record a couple episodes. We typically make fun of that on the show. We'll say it's Friday or it's Wednesday or it's nighttime or it's day. And most times it's literally, I'm saying to you this time of day, but literally it's Sunday afternoon. Like typically when we're doing things, but we try to do one a week, but it's, at the beginning we did 5 a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had an
For
extra
the first
one.
3 months. That's why I say after the 15th. So like the first 3 months we did, and an extra episode because we were still doing the music show.
Right.
So we were doing an all hip hop episode of the radio show, and so we added that once a month. So we're into this week will be the 52nd episode, but we're technically like 3 weeks before the actual full year.
I feel like we'll keep doing it. I'm guessing that it will organically evolve again, just because everything we
Has
do,
to.
We get to a point where it's like, okay, we feel like we've done all the things.
Right.
Now, how can we make it different and new? You know what I mean? Because it's as much for us as it is for anybody who's listening. So
We do it for the fans. We do everything for them.
okay,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we definitely have to. We always talk about trying to find other things, like what other podcasts have done in the past, and it doesn't seem us. I don't know.
because that's the thing, right? It's like we still want it to be so genuinely ours without just completely blatantly trying to rip somebody else off. It doesn't necessarily work. So
No, I mean we always joke about doing ASMR episodes, and I mean I don't understand why ASMR videos exist. Like shouldn't it just be sound? Like, doesn't that make more sense to everybody? It's all about this.
Nobody
audio
told you to be
sensory
logical
things.
right now.
No,
Thank
I know,
you.
I understand.
Champagne is also a band podcast is proud to support Exile on Main Street. Exile on Main Street, located in the old train station building at 100 North Chestnut Street in downtown Champaign, has been helping to build record collections since 2004. Carrying a wide array of new and used LPs, CDs, and video games. Exile on Main Street has something for just about any music enthusiast and old school gaming devotee. Exile also hosts regular free live music shows on its stage, so be sure to check out their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for the up-to-date details on the next upcoming event. Open 7 days a week, they can be reached by phone at 217-398-MAIN. That's 217-398-6246. What's your favorite non-musical thing at both of you at the same time? Or should I be like, Joy? Or should I be like, Bob? I don't know.
However you want to do it. I don't think we're going to say the same thing.
we aren't.
Unless, because we're
why don't
not
you
on
ask
our
Bob
podcast.
first?
All
We're
right.
not
It's
on
all
our
about
podcast,
Bob.
so we'll say a little cleaner than ours.
You know that this is like, I do have an explicit rating. So
Oh,
you-
okay.
Oh, do we have to record this all over again?
No. I think I've cussed at least once.
Yeah, I'm sure I have.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well,
Who said that?
I hope so. When I go back, I'll
Just add 'em in.
yeah.
Just
if
start
they
random
don't make
cuss.
sense,
Exactly.
Dick
You're just
every
like,
once in a
fuck.
while. This is
Yes. So, Bob, what is your favorite non-musical thing?
My favorite non-musical thing. It's just a category of it, like, or does it have to be one item?
Well, if you want to actually just list a few things,
Okay.
that's cool too. But you know,
Yeah.
like, what do you do that like makes you super happy or whatever? I
art.
don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. My art is my favorite thing, non-musically. Which is, I guess, musical is art, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
My non-music art.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, and I noticed that that Blind Pig just released. What's the name of the beer? But it has your image on
Yeah,
it.
it's the Pig Daze summer
Pig
beer.
Daze.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's your artwork that is
Yep.
going on there, and so I know that if people actually how do I say that? I was going to say that in such a wrong way. I was like, if people actually wanted to listen to your podcast, but no, if they listen to your podcast,
Yeah.
I know that you had described how you go through the process, and
Right.
you've been doing faces in general with kind of the same. If I understand correctly, because of the way that you do it, it's hard, like, visually to know. So it's the same structure, if I understand correctly, but you're manipulating the skin tones and the textures and the things like
Right.
that.
It's just
so that it creates kind of not an ambiguity, but that it kind of fluctuates and is fluid in some ways. Like,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the what I say is it's the magic is the layers. of just changing things. So since I work with, I always hand show people what it is, even though it doesn't physically exist. But if you were to have like a model that you had out of clay, and you could pose it and move it around, whatever, maybe a doll, maybe a maquette, if you will.
Yeah.
That's essentially what I do in a digital world. And then the painting of the skin and everything is all the person itself is different layers and textures.
So, and how did you come up with the shape of the face, or like, I mean, what inspired that particularly?
Lots of inspiration. I really love like big eye art from the 50s and 60s. Obviously, the Keane paintings is what people mostly know. Whenever I was growing up in the 70s, that kind of art was mass produced, so poor people could have art in their house. And so when I was growing up, those paintings were everywhere, in like my grandmother's apartment, my trailers I lived in, and stuff like that. So it was kind of like those haunting images that you stare at. And then I was a big comic book fan, big anime fan back in the early days. So what I would draw would be more anime type shaped faces, which that's kind of where it all comes from. So
Cool.
Big eyes in general, anime, and
Right. So, Joy, what's your favorite non-musical thing?
Well, my favorite non-musical thing is it's still writing. I've been writing since I was 13 in different forms, poems, short stories. I've been kind of working on a book of poetry that I'm putting together called The Roller Coaster. So yeah, that's just something I've always been obsessed with. It's a way to get the thoughts out, create imaginary worlds. You know, that's one of my favorites.
So, sorry. So is it always poetry, but you also do you do some stories as well, or?
Yeah, I do. I wrote back when I was like right out of college. I wrote like this whole fiction world. It was supposed to be a novel that I did. It was kind of like this whole universe. Like, what if everybody was fat, and if you were skinny, you were the outcast? And I had written like multiple character viewpoints and done the whole thing. So yeah, I've written some of everything, and a lot of my poetry itself, which is the main thing that I write, is not. It's kind of like a different style. You know what I mean? Like they don't flow like normal poems. A lot of them isn't rhyming. A lot of it almost seems kind of like a short essay on my feelings about this topic. And years ago, I started incorporating music into it. So I wrote several pieces where it's like it begins kind of with a song and then goes into the actual spoken piece after that. So yeah, I just like finding new ways to approach it.
You did mention your book of poetry, The Roller Coaster. Is that something that you're hoping on self-publishing, or you're reaching out to a publisher? Or
I think I'm going to self-publish because it's so easy in this day and age. You know what I mean? And everything I do is really it's at first for me. Like it first kind of helps me, and it's kind of how I cope with a lot of things. But it's also because other people are going through it, and I don't feel like it's the idea that I'm going to become rich and famous from publishing a book of poetry, right? It's just to get it out there for people to be able to read. So I think that's the easiest way to do it.
And sometimes there's something rewarding to just have something exist, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, I don't know about your podcast, but I mean, I don't make a dime ever off of it. Although, wait, I might have made 3 cents off of some. No,
We're like,
we had an offer for an ad on our podcast, but we didn't do it because of where we work. It was another university wanted to put their ad on our podcast.
What?
And it was a plug for their admissions season. I listened to the ad, and it was I work in that department at the university, so I was like, this would be a total conflict of interest, which we've never brought up. We both have said that we work at a university, but we've never like said where we work. But I guess geotagging things, it's easy to figure out which university we work at.
Right.
So I don't know if that's why they picked it or what, but it was Southern Denver
I don't know.
I can't remember.
I've already erased it.
It was Southern Colorado. Yeah, it was some university in Colorado.
A real one?
Yeah. The ad was horrible. I'm sorry if you're listening, but the ad was like, I actually had people in my department that do our marketing, listen to that, and they're like, really? Do you wonder why people don't go to your college?
Right.
It was horrid. It was just like, come here, we're fun. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like Funtasmic? Yes.
Yes.
Come out.
You're listening to a podcast about dick. You obviously want to come to your university.
Joy, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on the podcast.
Thank you for
And
having me.
Bob,
Yeah.
thank you.
Appreciate
And
being
so
here.
everybody should go to, I'll put it in the show notes, go and check out Not That Bitch EP by Miss Pettycakke. Is it scary when I say it? It sounds like I'm like,
It's not. It's almost kind of like, I'm like, I want to have you do like a trailer for it or
Yeah.
something.
Oh.
If you could do an ad, you have
so
a great voice
do you
for
want
it.
me to NPR that? So if you were to listen to Not That Bitch EP by Miss Pettycakke.
That was
Or
amazing.
Pettycakke. Everyone said.
No, right. Miss Pettycakke 2Ks.
Isn't
It's
there a
a-
Japanese?
it's
Oh
Pettycakke.
yes, that's okay.
That's the joke.
Got it. Whew, it's getting hot in here.
Right.
So, and also, hopefully forthcoming, the poetry book, The Roller Coaster. I don't know when you're looking to publish or when people should look for it.
Before the end of the summer. So
Before
by
the
the end
end
of
of the
August, it'll be
Awesome.
out. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's a good time.
And
of year.
find Creep Patrol at your
Yeah.
local bus station. And-
basically, or hear me talking about it at random bars, drunkly.
I am pushing him.
She's
It's going to
pushing
have
me.
me. I am. I'm like,
My problem, I have vocal problems.
we're that's a different thing. We're in therapy over that. But nonetheless, he's too
She's
good
helping with my
musically.
creativity.
So I need Creep Patrol to happen.
Awesome. And then Pig Daze is out now.
That's the
on-
22nd, actually, June 22nd. It's pre-sale now.
Ooh. Yes. So
Yeah.
look for it and see
Drink
that
it.
wonderful character. Calling it a character is the right thing. Has
Image.
freckles and
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
It's very cool.
thanks.
Thanks for being on the show and see you around.
Thank you for listening
The Champagne is also a band podcast.
This is Joy reminding you.
This is Bob reminding you great music is out there. Go find it where you live.
You almost have an NPR voice. It's so good.
South Peter on the inside.